If you would direct your device to the QR code, you can go in and do the training sign-in and the survey, and then you'll be able to print off that certificate whenever you are done this evening. But we do have Gordon here with us again this evening. Gordon, thanks for being here. This is the third Monday evening we've met in a row, and I greatly appreciate you being here because we've all learned so very, very much from you. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to let Gordon take over. And Gordon, take it from here. And again, welcome.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jill. Very much appreciate that. Appreciate those that are with us. Maybe there'll be another one or two to join us. If you know of any other families that are in the special needs community and would probably benefit from hearing about Special Needs Trust, then shoot them the link if you would be so kind to. Maybe we'll have one or two more join us. Also, if there are any grandparents out there, parents that you think grandparents might want to listen to this, maybe they've been asking questions as to how they can be helpful, that type of thing, they're welcome as well. Special Needs Trusts are certainly one of my favorite topics, and it's for several reasons. Number one, it's almost too good to be true. We got an incredible gift some 32, almost 33 years ago with the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act of 1993. Probably one of those bills that avoided a government shutdown or something. But we got an incredible gift with this legislation, and it brought about the opportunity to, all kidding aside, preserve the quality of life for our loved ones that have special needs, that where their train is attached to our engine, and the provision we make for them is in large part going to determine the quality of life that they enjoy. And I'll tell you, the difference is just amazing. I know I had someone in my office today, a family that adopted a special needs child from Ukraine, and they just told their story, and it so touched my heart. And by the time they finished their story, I was absolutely convinced that their adoption saved her life. That she was doing so poorly and was so malnourished and underweight and so forth. I just don't see how she could have survived. And so I just felt so honored and so humbled to be a part of their journey of building and restoring her quality of life and so forth. So I've just kind of got that inspiration bug as a result of that meeting, and am certainly pleased to pass that along to you this evening. So as Jill said, tonight it's about special needs trusts, and you're going to hear about special needs trusts as you have never heard before, because there are multiple types of special needs trusts, and they've all been created to solve different problems. And I even have a case study that we're going to delve into this evening, a real life situation where these special needs trusts have come to the rescue. All right. With that in mind, just a couple of quick housekeeping things. Number one, questions are not only allowed, they're encouraged. We have a relatively small group this evening, so I would encourage anyone that has a question, feel free to throw it in chat. If you prefer, simply unmute yourself and jump right in. Your voice will be a welcome chorus, I assure you. Number two, as a result of participating at any part of the series, including this evening, I'm pleased to extend to you a free follow-up consultation so that we can help get traction with the material and information that we're covering during the series as it relates to your situation. So if you're curious, I have an office in Indianapolis and an office in Louisville, but either in person or virtual, we work with families across the entire state, from Angola northeast to Lake County northwest, and Mount Vernon, which is actually beyond Evansville. The first time I went to Mount Vernon, I said, my goodness, I didn't know you've been here my whole life. I thought after Evansville, you just dropped off the planet. And it was such a cute story because they have a Dairy Queen in Mount Vernon, which is, again, about a half hour or so beyond Evansville. almost to Illinois, almost to nowhere's land, shall we say. And it was so cute because I told them I spoke to a Special Olympics group there at the high school in Mount Vernon, and I said, you all even have a Dairy Queen. I said I stopped there on my way here to give myself just a little treat on this very, very hot day. And this gal in the audience, this mom, just started cackling. And I said, well, I said, I thought you might enjoy hearing that, but I didn't know I would get such a hilarious response. And she said, well, she said, my son with Down syndrome works there. I'll bet he's the one that waited on you. And it was too funny because she was right. And so we had a laugh about that. Oh well. But nevertheless, we will delve into special needs trust this evening, but I'm pleased to extend to you a free follow-up consultation as a result of your participation. You should receive an email from Jamie Sturkey, my parent advocate and relationship coordinator. All you have to do is hit reply and say, I'd like the free consultation. As you can see, it's all about the kids and all about solving our special needs challenges to prepare for their future and, again, to preserve their quality of life. So with that in mind, let's do a screen share and bring up this evening's PowerPoint presentation. There we go. And if anyone wants to give me a nod to indicate that the slide, okay, great, the slide is up. Wonderful. All right. Again, it's lifetime care, quality of life. And what has made special needs trusts all the more important now, literally, than when they first came out 30 plus years ago, is the fact that the quality of life for our loved ones with special needs is at a record high, and special needs trusts are essential and critical to maintaining that heightened quality of life that we have created with them and for them. Couple of disclaimers. Mass Mutual does have a trust company, and this evening's information should not be construed as legal or tax advice. So Special Care is a division of Mass Mutual, the large financial firm, and it's the division that I work with special needs focus. And I'm a special care planner, which means I help families that have a member with special needs. So life care planning, and this is a bit of a plug for next week, which is the fourth and final installment, because next week we're going to be going through the PowerPoint presentation on life care planning. And so here you have a bit of the agenda of what we're going to be covering next week. So we will be touching on primary issues, legal, financial, government benefits. So there will be a bit of a primer or a review of what's been covered in the first three sessions that we have had. We will revisit guardianship. Also extremely important. Guardianship is not going away. It's as important and as helpful as ever. Identifying financial resources. I had someone in my office today that said, I'd love nothing more than to have a special needs trust for my loved one with special needs, but I do well to pay my bills, so I don't know how I would fund it. And so part of our role is to help families figure out how they can fund a special needs trust. Preparing life care for the life care planning costs, preparing a letter of intent, which is a caregiver guide. That is such a gift to family if something happens to a parent of a child with special needs, because that letter of intent is all things Bobby or Susie or whatever the name is of your child with special needs. I'm very thankful that we have a robust template. It's a fillable Word document for the letter of intent. It's close to 40 pages. I did say 40 pages. And it's all the information that family is so desperate to have in the absence of a parent or caregiver of the child with special needs. So in there are everything from information, copies of birth certificate, social security card, government issued ID, passport if applicable. It is who you work with at the BEADS office, who's doing case management, who your direct service providers are, a copy of their immunization records, their IEP, a neuropsych evaluation, possibly Social Security contacts, and then your Medicaid contacts, school contacts, if they have a part-time job like at Dairy Queen, those contacts, routines and schedules, how to get them up in the morning, get them to bed at night, all the personal hygiene issues, and the list goes on and on. What a blessing to family to leave that for them, and we are certainly thankful to be able to work with families to put that together. And it really helps the conversation with family about the if something happens to us, would you serve as the guardian or caregiver? Would you be a trustee on the trust and so forth? And I assure you, the better funded your situation is, the better prepared you are. It just helps the conversation go so much better. Prepare legal instruments, and I'm very pleased to let you know that we do have an informal network of attorneys throughout Indiana. So no matter the situation, whether you need an attorney for guardianship, I had someone in my office today whose child will be 18 in July. And she said, well, we're at about the 6-month point, so I thought it best to give you a call. And I said, well, thank you for that. I'm so thankful for having 6 months to put things together. But yes, legal instruments can include a will, a special needs trust, dealing with guardianship, appealing a government benefit decision, preparing for a Medicaid administrative hearing, appealing a declination from Social Security. And, we're hoping that things get, so to speak, back on track soon. But the government benefits offices have definitely been affected by the shutdown. And we're seeing this with inaccuracies in advice being given by Medicaid offices. We see one family waiting 9 months for a decision on SSI, and another family approved in less than 90 days. Things are just not at their best at the moment, and so we're doing our very best to advocate for families and help them. In fact, literally 30 seconds before we started this evening, I was on the phone with somebody that had applied for SSI years ago and got a reduced benefit amount of what is now 600 something, and have known forever that they needed to get back with Social Security to get the benefit raised up to the almost $1,000 level. And finally, a little bit of coaching and explaining, and now they're up for it. They are ready to reach out and engage with Social Security again to get the benefit increased. The difference in benefits now for Social Security, it's well over $300 a month, based on whether Social Security is considering your child is receiving what's called in-kind support and maintenance or not. So if your child is on SSI or receiving SSI and they're receiving 5 something or 6 something per month, we definitely need to talk, because there is a higher benefit that is basically an extra 50% of what they're currently receiving, taking them from 6 something to 9 something. If their benefit is reduced as a result of child support, again, we need to talk. There is a remedy in many situations that allows the full measure of SSI to be delivered without reduction for child support as well, utilizing special needs trusts, our topic for this evening. So it's just plain good to review the government benefits you have. Let us dig into this and see what's going on, to know if you're maximizing on opportunities, benefits, and supports for your loved one with special needs. Also, the issue of parents working under the waiver. I had someone in my office again today. A lot of meetings today. Must have been a half a dozen. And so I did have a family in where one of the parents was working under the Medicaid waiver and being compensated. And it was a great help, because she had left her employment, or basically had left her full-time employment as a result of the needs of the child with special needs. So getting some income through the waiver was helping to address the the loss of income. Getting families together is good, and then reviewing periodically. Okay. All right, so what are the motivations for getting a special needs trust? And these are just a sampling of them, though one of them represents the case study that we'll talk a little bit about this evening. And I'm, okay. There we go. And so, having a child or dependent with developmental disabilities, definitely a reason for having a special needs trust. Congenital disabilities, a traumatic brain injury due to a fall, an auto accident, an assault, or perhaps an illness such as a brain tumor or something, or spinal cord injury. And spinal cord injuries are more common than you think, frequently due to accidents, but also they can be due to assaults or being shot or this type of thing. And spinal cord injuries are just so affecting because they typically create paralysis, a lack of mobility, etc. And then that can spawn some other medical complications, medical malpractice. We're all human and mistakes are made. And so where there is a mistake, then frequently there is a liability. And legal action can be brought with the end result being a settlement from the litigation or for bringing the action. Personal injury, this can be a slip and fall. It can be a variety of situations. Manufacturer liability where something hasn't, is malfunctioned. And I have several trust beneficiaries that have received settlements as a result of action brought against a manufacturer or a corporation for manufacturer liability. Structured settlements, an inheritance, receiving funds. You might recall we went over government benefits in our first session, and much of these government benefits are what's called means tested. So the government wants to know what you have. And reality is, as much of the benefits that we pursue the most or consider most critical, such as Medicaid for health care, they are means tested. That means if you have too much money, you're simply not eligible. So receiving an inheritance, a gift, or having a situation where you're working so hard to save money for purchasing a home or a condominium or something, and then you have an accident or you have an illness and you end up with a disability, and the very savings that you were so proud of, that you had worked so hard, that you had done without and sacrificed to accumulate, then end up being a roadblock to receiving the help that you need in order to survive or to, or to have a quality life. So there are conundrums and contradictions with special needs, and we will see some of those this evening. So an inheritance, and sometimes it's unexpected. A grandparent passes away and updated their will or added a note indicating they wanted $10,000 to go to each living grandchild at the time of their death, or maybe to have their house sold at death and to have the proceeds from the sale of the home divided up among their grandchildren. So it's not unusual at all for a child with special needs, a grandchild with special needs, to receive funds. And those funds that were intended to enhance the quality of life can end up being a disaster because maybe it's only $10,000 that's been received as an inheritance, and the $10,000 inheritance may cause the loss of government benefits worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Also receiving a gift, and then Medicaid and or SSI eligibility issues relating to income or resources can be a reason for the need for a special needs trust. So government benefits are primarily divided into two categories. There is the pension or insurance type, and these are not means tested. That's SSDI, which means drawing off of Social Security benefits as a result of payroll taxes the consumer with special needs has paid in, or their parents, and Medicare. So for these benefits, these SSDI and Medicare, Medicare and Social Security does not care how much money you have. So you could have $100,000 in the bank, still be eligible to draw SSDI and Medicare. What those benefits do have, though, is a maximum earned income limit, and for 2025, that maximum monthly earned income limit is $1,620, again, $1,620. $1,620 is the maximum gross monthly wages, assuming a person is not legally blind. If they're legally blind, then the limit is much higher. But in the absence of legal blindness, then for the current calendar year of 2025, the maximum monthly gross income number is $1,620. And just recently, they came out with the figure for 2026 that will be here soon. And the limit for next year is $1,690 per month. It went up by $70 on the month. So it went up by about 4% or so. All right. And that is an income limit, and that is critically important. If you exceed that income limit, then you are at risk of having your Social Security disability benefits cut off. And if they're cut off, there goes the Medicare with them. Okay, then we have a second type of benefits called needs-based benefits. And needs-based benefits primarily focus on SSI, which is a monthly stipend for food and shelter, and Medicaid. Now, these are needs-based benefits. These are means-tested benefits, meaning the government wants to know what money you have, and if you have too much, then they pull your benefits. So SSI, Supplemental Security Income, and Medicaid both have a $2,000 resource limit. So if a person's bank balance, IRA, in some cases 401k, if their what's called available resources climb above $2,000, then they cease to be eligible for both SSI and Medicaid. It is the same limit for both SSI and Medicaid. At the same time, you have the same earned income limit of $1,620 this year, $1,690 next year. Then you have Medicaid that comes with SSI, and Medicaid has the $2,000 resource limit, but they also have an overarching income limit. The overarching income limit for the current calendar year is $2,901. That's $2,901. And that is the maximum total income that a person can draw, and that's income from Social Security, it's income from wages. So all of that's put together. It even includes gifts, but that limit is $2,901. So if a person exceeds that, then they lose eligibility for Medicaid unless they take some steps to resolve the situation. So we've talked about several numbers already this evening, and special needs trusts do factor in at resolving at least some of these issues. So did you know individuals with special needs who may qualify for both Medicaid and supplemental security income may not receive these if their assets exceed $2,000. So that is the resource limit, and that applies throughout the state of Indiana. In fact, it applies to most states in the country. A strategy: place assets, including inheritance, gifts, life insurance, etc., in a carefully drafted special needs trust. So a special needs trust is a haven where assets can be placed that will not count against the $2,000 resource limit. So it really is a godsend that assets can be placed in a special needs trust and then they're off the grid. They no longer count against the individual with special needs. Special needs trust assets that supplement the needs of your dependent and will not jeopardize a beneficiary's eligibility for needs-based government assistance, such as Medicaid. Medicaid waivers and supplemental security income, SSI, if properly established and administered within a certain trust arrangement. So it's possible to have both a combination of Medicare and Medicaid and SSI and SSDI. Special needs trusts provide financial oversight, safety, a safety net, quality of care, focusing on what government benefits can't or won't pay for, and what the beneficiary is unable to generate on their own. So it fills that gap or that void that while the parents are still living, they're seeking to fill that gap or void. You should work with an attorney that is familiar with special needs and when creating special needs trusts. So I'm again very thankful that I have a network of attorneys with an attorney in Fort Wayne, one in the Lafayette area, Evansville, New Albany, 2 in Indianapolis, 3 in Louisville, and 2 in Lexington, Kentucky. So we have about 10 to 12 attorneys between Indiana and Kentucky, and they assist with guardianship, appealing Social Security declinations, Medicaid administrative hearings, setting up wills, durable powers of attorney, healthcare directives, special needs trusts, and the list goes on. So again, very thankful for the informal network of attorneys that we have assembled over the last 3 decades. A wonderful group of attorneys, and every one of them I've worked with for at least 5 or 6 years, so I know all of them very well. I get with half of them on a quarterly basis for breakfast to encourage each other, etc. All right. So this is the Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act I was talking about before. OBRA, as it's known, Omnibus OBRA 93, as it's affectionately referred to, OBRA 93. And so it brought into being first special needs trusts as we know them today. You might wonder why 1993? Well, the government had a significant push to make it very difficult for seniors to give away their assets to their adult children and claim poverty so that Medicaid could pay their nursing home bill. And so over 93 is the legislation that brought about such terms as look back, spend down, period of ineligibility, etc. But they did a carve out for individuals with a disability or special needs. So we're incredibly thankful and grateful for the carve out that they did for us to create special needs trusts. So what is a special needs trust? It's a means of enhancing an individual's quality of life beyond basic food, shelter, and health care provided by government benefits. It can be set up to send a dependent with special needs to camp, take vacations, travel to visit relatives, buy sports equipment, pursue education such as job or technical training, college, or to pay for other therapeutic needs that do not fall under day-to-day living or maintenance expenses, dental care, purchase of a home, condominium, furniture, clothing, and personal items, entertainment, etc. If properly drafted, proceeds placed in the trust will not affect government benefits, as funds held by a special needs trust are not considered those of the trust beneficiary. So funds can be in there, but they're not considered belonging to the trust beneficiary. Funds in a special needs trust are typically invested for growth and income. So the idea is to not have funds sitting there idly, but to allow them to be invested to grow. Parents, parents, grandparents, siblings, or caregiver or donor can establish a third party trust for a child, sibling, or loved one who is disabled. Anyone who asks the question, who will take care of them when I'm not around, or how can I pass on part of my estate without affecting their government benefits? It's a big concern because these benefits are incredibly valuable and parents don't want them to lose their benefits. So they are really hesitant to do anything that would undermine their eligibility. And unfortunately, a lack of planning in some cases seals their fate of losing eligibility for benefits because a lack of planning by default drives assets to children of the deceased. So when a parent passes away, unless there's a very carefully crafted estate plan in place, the child with special needs is going to inherit. And when they inherit, again, benefits can be lost. So this is really important stuff. So there are a few steps to establishing a special needs trust. Coordinate available resources. How will the trust be funded? Is it being funded with life insurance or retirement funds or a gift or other property or investments? Ensure continuation of government benefits. Provide supplemental needs for life, improve quality of life, and to direct final distributions. Okay, let's see if we can, there we go. The trust stipulates how monies contributed to the trust are used for the beneficiary. State-specific language is necessary. So if one sets up a special needs trust in one state, it really is a good idea to have an attorney in your new state review it to see if there are any changes that need to be made. Let's see here. Name a trustee who is responsible to carry out terms of the trust agreement. The trustee is obligated to act both in accordance with these provisions and in the interest of the beneficiary. There are many ways special needs trusts can be created to fit the needs of the family. Okay, and what you're looking at right now is a list of the different types of special needs trusts. There are quite a few. We'll unpack these and talk about how they vary and the problems that they solve. Let's start with first parties. Well, actually, on the way to first party special needs trusts, this is a slide that I added because it outlines the different ways special needs trusts can be set up. So it can be testamentary. And as you might have guessed, for a special needs trust to be testamentary, that means it is created out of one's last will and testament. So when one has a testamentary trust, it really does not exist today. It exists the moment a person passes away. So as a result of that, they can be less expensive to put in place, but they are somewhat limiting because you cannot fund the testamentary special needs trust while you're still living. Living trust can be funded now or later. So unlike a testamentary trust, a living trust is available here and now for funding, either putting a lump sum in there, so much a month, making periodic deposits, etc. It can be gifted by parents or others, and others can leave assets from their estate plan. So it can be a gift of future interest. Revocable is changeable, and irrevocable, not so easily changed. All right, So here are some examples. Let's see here. Yeah. Well, we're almost to examples. We're going to start with first party Medicaid Payback Trust. Yeah, and then we'll go to examples. So a first party special needs trust is a trust designed to be funded with monies or assets belonging to the consumer with special needs. So again, first party trust typically set up to receive funds from the disabled individual themselves. So self-settled trusts typically funded by monies belonging to or received by the trust beneficiary. So assets can be placed in a first-party trust to be under the $2,000 resource limit. Established or settled by parent, grandparent, court-appointed guardian, court, or as of December 31st, 2016, if they have capacity, they actually can set up their own first-party special needs trust. And that's under the Special Needs Trust Fairness Act of 2016, made it possible for an individual that may be a one-person show to set up this trust for themselves. They cannot be the trustee, but they can be the grantor or the person approving the setup of the special needs trust. Beneficiary must meet strict definition of disability. Trust is irrevocable, and beneficiary is generally under the age of 65. So these are criteria for utilizing a first-party trust. It must be irrevocable, meaning not changeable, and set up for a beneficiary under the age of 65. After a beneficiary's death, the state is reimbursed from the trust for Medicaid benefits paid during the lifetime of the beneficiary. Trusts exist for the sole benefit of the disabled beneficiary, and they're designed to support, not supplant, meaning support but not take the place of government benefits. Okay. Now, what you see here is a fairly busy slide. I assisted families with setting up first-party special needs trusts to remedy, in most cases, an asset situation that was causing the loss of Medicaid, Medicaid waiver, and or SSI benefits through Social Security. So example number one is a young man who received a TBI or traumatic brain injury at the age of 12. He is now in his 30s. So obviously I've been working in the area of special needs for some period of time, and seen this young man grow from a youngster to an adult. But nevertheless, at age 12, had a traumatic brain injury and received a settlement. The settlement was set aside to enable him to be eligible for benefits, and that settlement is now providing him with a monthly allowance to see that his essential expenses are covered. Example number two, someone disabled at the age of 32 that has no government benefits. They're not eligible for government benefits because by age 32, they had saved, invested, and accumulated assets. But if government benefits are critically important, then those assets can be offloaded to a first-party special needs trust, enabling the individual to be eligible for Medicaid waiver services, SSI, etc. So it can be very helpful to set up a first-party special needs trust when it enables an individual to access benefits that may be worth tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Health issue at age 40. SSDI and Medicare. So this is an individual that had worked long enough where they were insured under Social Security and eligible to receive SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance or income, and Medicare that comes with it. But they needed services to help them, services in the home, etc. And so using a first party special needs trust, we were able to take their assets or resources down under the $2,000 level, making them Medicaid eligible and Medicaid waiver eligible. So that was very cool. Part-time employment and single, living with parents, needs money, needs waiver services or saving money. Yep. Let's see, age 21 with UTMA, Uniform Transfer to Minor Act account with 40,000. I just had that family in my office on Saturday, and the young adult just got approved for SSI after appealing twice. Finally, it went to court, and we did get approval, and so that was a win. And he is now actually 23 years old. So we've been working on that one for the last 2 or 3 years. Let's see, unexpected inheritance of 50,000, winning a lottery ticket for sports betting. That really happened. Kid with special needs, opened an account, had a little bit of money, parlayed it into thousands of dollars, and it was then Medicaid got wind of it, and they were going to lose their Medicaid waiver and Medicaid and healthcare and so forth. And so we were able to offload that. Settlement received from auto accident, medical malpractice, or product liability. And then number 9 is child support. Well, that's a surprise to many. But in Indiana, you can have child support until the age of 19, potentially longer if you go to court and get that awarded. But starting at age 18, if you're planning to pursue SSI, unfortunately, that child support's a dollar for dollar reduction against the SSI. So let me see if I can explain. Your child with special needs receives child support. Let's say that they're receiving $500 a month in child support payments. That's a fairly meaningful amount. So the parents are receiving or the mother or father, whatever is receiving the child support payments, and then the child turns age 18. Well, at age 18, we're dealing with guardianship issues, but we're also dealing with applying for SSI. So if you apply for SSI and the child is awarded SSI, and of course that's why you apply. You wouldn't apply if you have no reason to believe that they would qualify. Then now that they're 18, the SSI is a dollar for dollar reduction against, or the child support is a dollar for dollar reduction against the SSI. So if they were receiving a monthly benefit of $967, the child support would take it down to $467. It literally would be a dollar for dollar reduction against the SSI benefit amount. Well, the good news is that in many cases, it's possible to set up what's called a first party Medicaid payback or special needs trust and have the child support directed to the trust, and in which case it does not count against the young person's SSI benefit amount. So if the child support were $500 a month, literally the child could draw an SSI benefit of $967 a month. They could receive the child support of $500 a month, and if they're still in school, they could work part-time as well and bring in monies that way. So you could end up with part-time income, $967 of SSI, $500 a month of child support. Wow, talking about having some cash flow there to help meet expenses or create the opportunity to fund an ABLE account or a special needs trust. It's huge. So there are avenues at our disposal, things that we can use, things that we can do to help both preserve eligibility for benefits as well as to respect and make a good use of resources they have at their disposal. So this stuff is really, really cool. Okay, we're going to move on from first party special needs trust, but before we do, does anybody have a question about first party special needs trusts? Again, any questions about first party? Now, first party is different than the other trusts. And after we've discussed several of these trusts, I do have a case study that I'm going to briefly run through so that you can see how these trusts really can make such a huge difference. But keep in mind, first party trust is when the consumer themselves either has assets or receiving assets. They have too much in the way of funds to be under the $2,000 resource limit. And you might say, well, if they have that much money, then what do they need with government benefits? But the $2,000 is not subject to inflation. And if we took the value of $2,000 when the legislation was passed back in the 60s, today we'd be talking $30,000 or $40,000. So you really need help in many cases to get down under the $2,000 resource limit because it's so limiting. But know that if they have too much in a savings account, first party trust can resolve it. If you have a disability that occurs after you've already saved money, this can help. Again, this is a great vehicle for managing resources down under 2,000. Now, just last week we touched on ABLE accounts, and so in the case of small money situations like 5, 10, maybe 15,000, sometimes an ABLE account can be a quick and easy solution. But when monies, the problem get beyond the level that an ABLE account can solve, then first party special needs trusts are an incredible resource at our disposal. And so all the attorneys that I work with, all the attorneys in our informal network do draft these first party special needs trusts. And so we can help families get this done, and it is not financially crushing. It simply is not. So, yeah, and I'm surprised really that we're not doing more of them for child support because there's plenty of, blended family situations, divorce, remarriage, etc., in the special needs community. And child support just really gouges the SSI, and a first party special needs trust can save the day. Oh, well, let's see here. I'm looking okay and nothing in chat at the moment. Again, do feel free to unmute yourself and dive right in or put something in chat.
Gordon, I just have a question. When you talk about the child support, is that the parent that's receiving the child support money, or is that the child that's receiving the child support?
Okay, great question. Typically, the child support is going to the parent, but it is treated as income to the child. And that's the rub. So even though the child support payment is coming via check or electronic deposit or payroll deduction to the custodial parent, Social Security treats that as income to the child, and not just any income, specifically non-earned income. And non-earned income, unlike earned income, is a dollar for dollar reduction, as opposed to earned income that is a $1 reduction for each $2 earned. So in the case of child support, oh, it's awful that $500 payment's coming in for every dollar of child support being received. There's an equal dollar for dollar reduction to SSI. So child support in many situations is just simply ineffective or counterproductive. But if that child support can be paid to a properly established first party special needs trust, we can completely avoid the reduction against SSI. And it's worth it even for a year. If you've got $500 a month, that's $6,000 on the year. Maybe it costs $1,000 or $1,500 to get the special needs trust in place. But heck, if it's going to save $6,000 of SSI benefits, it's well worth the effort. And then if child support continues on beyond age 19, which I have seen, it certainly does not always, but we do see situations where child support continues on, the kid's 25 or 30 years old, then it can be a long-term situation where it is extremely helpful. Great question. Thank you so much, Jill. Okay, so we're going to move on to third-party special needs trust. And third party versus first party is certainly a parent and grandparent's favorite. So what's the difference between a first party and a third party trust? There are just a few major differences. Number one, whose money is going into the trust? So in the case of a first party, it's typically money coming to or belonging to the individual or consumer with special needs. In the case of a third party special needs trust, it's anyone else's money. It's parents' money. It's a sibling's money. It's grandparents' money. So if it's somebody else's money, then it's fair game to go into a third party special needs trust. In addition to that, a third party special needs trust has no Medicaid payback, which means when something happens to the trust beneficiary, the state does not step in and place a lien against the trust. What's left in the trust basically sticks with family or follows the beneficiary instructions put into the trust by whoever set it up, most often the parents. So a third party special needs trust is wonderful because there's no downside to a well-funded one. If it's funded enough to where when God eventually calls the kid with special needs home, let's say that there's $100,000 left in that trust, that $100,000 will catch up with the siblings or other family members as laid out in the trust. The state does not get an opportunity to enrich themselves or reimburse themselves for Medicaid benefits afforded the individual. So you might say, well, goodness, with a third party trust, who would ever want a first party trust where the state could step in and seek to reimburse themselves? And the answer is when the trust is being funded by monies belonging to or coming to the individual with a disability, because the consumer's money is not welcome in a third party trust. Again, not welcome in a third party trust. Third party trust is for everybody else's money. However, if one puts a third party trust in place, then of course it only makes sense to broadcast the fact that that trust exists, because grandparents, aunts and uncles, godparents, family, friends, etc., can gift to the third party trust or leave assets to the third party trust, and there is no Medicaid lien, etc. Now, a third party special needs trust is a popular beneficiary designation in the special needs community. So it's possible to list the third party trust as primary or contingent beneficiary, so that when something happens to the insured, perhaps also a parent, the life insurance company will cut a check to the trust and it's funded and off to the races. Most often, the claim is made, the insurance company will cut a check just within a few weeks. So life insurance is certainly a way to help ensure that not only the trust is funded, but it's funded a pretty lickety split so that the trustee has resources to work with. Okay, all right. So third party special needs trust, super popular. If you're hearing a little noise in the background, my apologies. We moved into the office here just a few weeks ago, and most every night and weekends, God love the construction people and the fire system installers and the security people installers and the appliance installers, and the list goes on and on. But most every evening and weekends, even Sunday, they're here trying to get everything finished up and done. So we're very grateful for their efforts. In case you're curious, we moved the office to Keystone at the Crossing. We are in the 8888 building, which is the tall tower at Keystone at the Crossing, and we occupy the 16th floor. The third special needs trust that we're talking about is a qualified disability trust. We don't see as many of these, but I think that may change going forward. So we've had first party, we've had third party. What's different about a qualified disability trust? Well, a qualified disability trust is considered a third party special needs trust, and it's funded with someone else's money, not the consumer, not the individual with special needs or a disability. And it must be irrevocable, which means they're not easily changed. and it must be for the sole benefit of the individual with a disability, not he and his 2 or 3 siblings, or he and his 2 or 3 closest friends, etc. No other person or entity can benefit from the trust during the lifetime of the disabled beneficiary. Now, when they pass upon the death, the trust assets then can pass, again, can pass to remainder beneficiaries who need not be disabled. The trust must be established and funded before the disabled individual turns 65. That's not the parents, but the consumer, and the beneficiary must be disabled per the Social Security Act or receiving supplemental security income or Social Security disability insurance benefits. Now, what's significant here is that you will see that having Social Security render a judgment of someone has special needs or disability is really very helpful. It opens a lot of doors. But you don't want to wait too long. It's generally best, if possible, to engage with Social Security prior to the 22nd birthday, 22nd birthday, for long-term eligibility for benefits called adult child benefits, otherwise years ago known as DAC, or disabled adult child benefits. So again, prior to 22, if possible. If not, we'll work with the situation and attempt to pull documentation together to save the day. As most special needs trusts are funded with the parent's assets, including life insurance proceeds and gifts from other family members, they can be established and treated as qualified disability trusts. This makes the special needs trust an even more valuable planning tool. Now, one thing I have not touched on, because you might say, well, why can't a third-party trust be a qualified disability trust? And the answer is it can if it meets the criteria. But what do you get for jumping through those hoops? And it's in the first line. A qualified disability trust qualifies for a $5,100 tax exemption. And that's the amount for 2025. As of last week, they had not indicated what it was going to be for 2026. That information will probably come out this week. But we're talking interest, dividends, and capital gains can total over $5,000 a year. And there are no taxes to be paid. Again, no taxes to be paid. So pretty impressive, the thousands of dollars in tax savings that can be enjoyed as a result of utilizing a qualified disability trust.
Gordon, we do have a comment that's in the chat.
All righty, let me see here. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Okay. My children with autism are young, elementary age. I don't know yet if they will be able to live independently and have jobs when they are grown. We are setting up a basic trust for all of our kids in case we die. Should we also set up a special needs trust for our children with autism just in case, or wait to see if they will need extra help in adulthood for their disabilities? What a wonderful question. Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. All right, so the answer is generally it is best to have a special needs trust in place. And this is using the adage of hope for the best. Again, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And we have to know that the worst would be you're not being here, meaning something happening to you. So the circumstances under which this situation would come up would be certainly far less than ideal when you are taken away from your child or children on the autism spectrum. Now you might say, well, but things may turn out well and then we don't need it. Nice problem to have. My experience is that even children that make progress, even children that some may call high functioning, are still vulnerable. and they're vulnerable to several things. They are vulnerable to not making the wisest long-term decisions. Many of our children on the spectrum live in the moment. They understand what's going on now, but executive function in terms of long-term financial planning, thinking into the future, et cetera, is beyond them or too great a challenge. Number two is simply we are not talking about $100 of spending money, but we're talking about without having a special needs trust, because the trusts that are not special needs will generally expire or run out, and they're tied to the age of the child or dependent. And so if we have a child with special needs, and let's say that they're on a trajectory to mature by the time they're 30 or 35, and it takes that long in many situations, if not longer, if ever. And so with traditional trust planning, they age out by the time they're 25 or 30 frequently, meaning by the time they're 30, the trusts have made their final distributions and they're closing up shop. And that timetable simply doesn't work for many of our children on the spectrum. The third consideration is they're being taken advantage of. And when I say that, it can be something mildly nefarious, like somebody that wants to party hardy or have fun, that type of thing, basically at their expense. But it can be more nefarious when someone is literally trying to rip them off. And this goes from, instead of somebody being a little self-centered, to someone with criminal activity. And these days with the internet and what we see going on, and I have seen this in the special needs community, and individuals even living in foreign places, making contact through the internet, convincing them that they are doing the ultimate good deed by transferring funds or giving, and they even sometimes walk them through the process of setting up an account or a debit card in order to facilitate the transfer of their own money to these other parties or people. And in many cases, our kids with special needs, even when it's found out or they're called on it, they're defiant because of a lack of understanding, a lack of maturity, embarrassment, and then on top of that, they typically don't catch on, but they fight back, and the horrible activities can continue. And I've seen this. So protecting them, especially as we as parents get older or we pass on, there probably won't be a second wave of money. And so if the legacy we leave for them, seeking to enhance their quality of life, is squandered or gone, siblings are not going to want to share their inheritance, throwing good money after bad. So we find that trusts that extend out over their lifetime instead of just until they're 30 years old can be very helpful. In addition to that, we also find that some of our adult population with special needs still hang on to some government benefits despite their success. As an example, it's possible for someone at the age of 25 or 30 to have traditional Medicaid and a Medicaid waiver despite working full time. I did say despite working full time. However, they still have to keep their resources under the $2,000 limit, and in most cases, they need a special needs trust in order to have financial oversight to manage their resources in such a way to maintain eligibility for Medicaid and waiver services. In the state of Indiana, we have two remedies for individuals that are able to work or earn more substantial amounts of income to maintain eligibility for Medicaid and Medicaid waivers. One is what's called MedWorks, MEDWORKS. We touched on this briefly a few weeks back, but MedWorks, standing for Med for Medicaid and then Works, someone on Medicaid that works, enables them to pay a premium for their traditional Medicaid coverage and maintain waiver services despite having income of as much as $4,000 or close to $5,000 per month in gross wages. Now, at that level of income, they are not going to have SSI or SSDI, but in some cases, they don't need it. That is, they're earning enough money to pay bills, but they still need waiver services. They still need community habitation, rec therapy, a behavioralist, in order, in some cases, to kind of maintain their mental health and their frame of mind in order to maintain employment. So, so these benefits are not all or nothing. It's possible to let SSI or SSDI go and still retain Medicaid and Medicaid waiver services. And so we continue to find special needs trusts extremely helpful. Now, as opposed to MedWorks, there is an alternative called the Miller Trust. And a Miller Trust is an opportunity to offload excess income in order to maintain eligibility for benefits. And here we go. It's the next slide. So we rehearsed that perfectly, Anna, absolutely flawlessly. So far we've talked about first-party special needs trust, third-party special needs trust, qualified disability trust with the $5,100 exemption for dividends, interest, and capital gains, now a Miller Trust. And a Miller Trust is a trust that's designed to help resolve income issues, what we were just talking about. In the state of Indiana, there's MedWorks as a possible option. There's also the Miller Trust. And for 2026, as I've updated this to reflect the latest and greatest of information, that income threshold is just under $3,000, again, just under $3,000 per month. And that's a combination of any Social Security benefits that they're drawing along with income, earned income. And with the Miller Trust, they take the excess over the $2,982 for next year. So if their total income came to $3,482, that would be $500 that would need to be set aside into the Miller Trust account. But this is an avenue by which, again, to retain Medicaid and Medicaid waiver services. So example one, Daniel has special needs, as employed earning $1,200 a month. He receives $700 a month in SSDI for a total of $1,900, $1,200 and $700. But in 2025, as Dad retires, and now Daniel is drawing off of his father, and his Social Security increases to $1,850 a month. When you add the $1,850 to the $1,200 in earned income, he's up over $3,000. It's too much to retain eligibility for his Medicaid and his waiver. So in this case, $68 is how much he's exceeding the $2,982 by. So we throw the $68 into the Miller Trust account, call it a day. He retains, in this case, Daniel retains his traditional Medicaid and his waiver services. You heard me right. He between Social Security and earned income, over $3,000 a month. And despite that, he can still, if he keeps his resource limit under $2,000, he can still have his traditional Medicaid for healthcare, and he can have Medicaid waiver services. It's incredible. Example two is Ted. Both parents died, and he's now drawing $2,000 a month in survivor benefits. So with $1,000 a month in earnings, he's at $3,000. Again, he's over the $2,982. So Miller Trust, very popular, increasing in popularity. Frankly, 10 plus years ago, Miller Trusts were only used by seniors going into a nursing home with a pension. And Miller Trust gave them the opportunity to deposit their pension or the too much or excess income into a Miller Trust account, and then it can be pulled back out and applied toward the cost of their care. Now we're using these for young people with special needs. It's really exciting. As you can tell, there's a lot to this. Most advisors simply don't have the knowledge or expertise to deal with all this. It's the sandbox that I play in on a daily basis, and I do want to get to the case study. And now is probably a good time. Let me check the time and see how we're doing. It's easy for me to kind of get lost in all of this because it's what I love to do. But I do want to go over a case study with you, and it really weighs heavy on my heart. But we have a a young man that accompanied his family to a foreign country for a vacation, August, just a few months ago, three months ago. And unfortunately, while there, he got separated from his family and either fell or was assaulted. I'm not sure if we have the answer to that question. But someone in his mid-20s that just a few years earlier had played football in college. Now, not IU, granted, of course, they're setting the world on fire right now, but he played college football and was in excellent physical condition. And after this fall or assault, his neck was broken and he is now a quadriplegic. So when he left to go on this vacation, he was in prime physical condition. And he came back a few days later with nothing moving under the neck. So you have a situation like that. Now, he's in his mid-20s. He'd been out of college for a couple of years, saving like a crazy man, saving money because he was hopeful that he could buy a house. So you can imagine the situation. You know, he's now a quadriplegic. He requires 24/7 care. And he had saved up tens of thousands of dollars because of working so hard in the 2 or 3 years since he graduated college. Well, okay, $2,000 resource limit, the very funds that he worked so hard, scrimped and saved and sacrificed to do without in order to save, now becomes the roadblock or the block to his getting services to help him live at home. And so after he was discharged from the hospital and sent home, because of his assets, he was rendered ineligible for Medicaid or waiver services, and insurance was only providing 4 hours of therapy a week. 4 hours of therapy a week. And that's away from home, no home health at all, period. Can you imagine? I mean, requiring complete care and absolutely zero Zippo, nothing in the way of help at home. So let's think about this. In addition to that, his employer, hoping beyond hope that he will, despite his disability, recover enough to return to some amount of work, has continued paying him. So now we have tens of thousands in savings and income that continues to be paid to him during this period of time in hopes that he will return to them. And so when you think about our discussion this evening, well, he's making $45,000 a year, so almost $4,000 a month. Well, he's way over the monthly income limit. He is way over the $2,000 resource limit. So you're perhaps starting to catch on to the fact that for multiple reasons, he's not eligible for help. So in this case, a first party special needs trust, first party, has been set up for him so he can offload his accumulated savings, therefore taking him down under the $2,000 resource limit, and that's a fix for his savings. ABLE account would not work because tens of thousands is too much to immediately go into an ABLE account where you have a deposit limit in the current year of $19,000. So we set up a first party special needs trust, and we're in the process now of transferring his accumulated savings over to the first party trust to take him down under $2,000. Okay, we have a monthly total income limit of actually $2,901 in the current year, $2,982 next year. Okay, so he's exceeding that. So we set up a Miller trust that we were just talking about a moment ago to put the excess income into on a monthly basis. So that resolves the income issue. So as you can see, these trusts are so very helpful at removing the roadblocks in order to get people help that desperately need help. At the same time, we set up a third-party trust because the parents don't want to leave assets directly to him. That would only add to the problem. So a third-party special needs trust for the parents to leave funds to in the event of their death, first-party special needs trust to offload his savings, and a Miller trust in order to deal with the income his employer continues to pay him. With a combination of those trusts, We literally can make this young man Medicaid eligible in a matter of weeks and get waiver services showing up at his home to help provide care. So that's a case study that I wanted to bring to you this evening to show how these trusts are lifesavers at getting help for people in their hour of need. Okay, nothing in the chat at this point. Okay. So it takes a village here to get a trust set up. You got family members involved. You got a trustee. Find someone that's a trustee. And this kind of talks about the different roles and what each person that's a part of the picture needs to do. I manage tens of millions of dollars of special needs trust assets. I work with these trusts every day of the week, seeking to maximize on growth and to build them up and so forth. And so the trustee in these cases have me manage the investments. Then I refer them to CPAs to handle the taxes and so forth. Yeah, so it's a combination of the family, the trustee, myself, and so forth. And we make all these situations work. It's really cool. Now, please understand, you don't have to have a dime to put into a trust today. We can set up the trust, and the trust can remain what we call dry or empty until the death of parents, and it can simply be life insurance that then provides a funding benefit for the trust. So this is certainly not limited to the wealthy, and the process of getting these things in place is not financially crushing. I have a number of attorneys that are very happy to work out a 12-month payment plan to make it very affordable to get through the planning process. So how do you fund the trust? Well, it can be gifting. So grandparents or great aunts or uncles or godparents or friends, that type of thing can certainly get in on the act and write checks or make transfers and be helpful. Life insurance by way of beneficiary. Retirement funds by beneficiary, 401ks, SEPs, Simples, IRAs, Roths, etc., can have the beneficiary listed as the special needs trust. And the Secure Act exemption that's mentioned in the bullet point there speaks to the fact that these special needs trusts can have a lifetime stretch, meaning you literally can stretch the receipt of the proceeds over the lifetime of the individual with special needs, minimizing the tax implications. So love to do that. Also investment accounts. So if you have a stock account with a little bit of NVIDIA in it, just say, then a TOD or transfer on death instruction can be placed on that so that whatever's in that stock account can go to the special needs trust upon the death of the stock account holder. CD can also go to the special needs trust. Property, a house, a condominium, even rental property can be held by a special needs trust. So the payments to the trust can go via lump sum, or it can go via random or periodic payments. Also GoFundMe. So I've had several families do GoFundMe, go through the GoFundMe process and accumulate in excess of $100,000 of funds as a result of the GoFundMe effort. Those can go into the third party special needs trust, no Medicaid lien. So you see the monthly, the annual, one-time contribution, whatever it is. I mean, a grandparent could leave their house to the trust. They could just say, well, when I die, I don't need the house anymore. So I think I'll leave it to the trust for my grandson or my granddaughter that has special needs. Not for them necessarily to live in, though they could, but for it to be sold upon their death and for that to help fund the special needs trust. Life insurance, of course, is so easy because it's typically tax-free and it creates a much bigger benefit than the premiums that were ever paid into it. Survivorship life is a very popular option for two-parent situations in special needs planning. I'll mention it. You see it up there at the top, survivorship life. That's a special type of life insurance that insures both parents together and provides a trust funding benefit when something happens to the second of the two parents, meaning when there's no longer a parental advocate, it guarantees the trust is funded. Okay, all right. We are closing in on our time limit this evening, And we're, for the most part, here at the end. This has been updated to reflect our new office address, which again is 8888 Keystone Crossing, Suite 1600. Then I have the office in Louisville, which is off Hurstbourne Parkway, just a little north of Shelbyville Road, for those of you that are familiar with Louisville. I'm usually in my Louisville office about 5 days a month, including a Saturday. So we like to make Saturday times available for families. It helps tremendously, and I'm so happy to do that for families. Um, okay, for anyone who wants to take a quick snapshot of that, I get emails on a daily basis about you name it. Medicaid and waivers and Social Security and this and that and the other. And it gives me joy to help people with these complicated issues. Okay, with that, I'm going to pop out of the PowerPoint presentation and come back to my favorite in-source person, Jill, and who does such incredible work for families and so forth. Please keep in mind the free consultation. There's so much here, and my intent was not to overwhelm, but we have real tools at our disposal. So just as Jill would say, you don't have to lie down and roll over and let the school corporation say, well, we can't do that, we can't do that, we can't do that. It doesn't have to be, oh, we'll monitor that, we'll monitor that, monitor that. Action can be taken. And the same with what we have here. These are tools at our disposal to create a better future for the child that you love so desperately. Look for the email from Jamie, and I hope to be able to meet with many of you. And we have one, I think, left in the installment, right, Jill? I'll let you take it from there.
Yes, we do. Next week, we'll talk about life care plan. And, that does wrap up the four, that's our fourth week together. And, Gordon, it's just been an absolute honor as always to have you here. I do have a question, Gordon. So that you just pad up your information. For those of our listeners that are on our Facebook Live, that's how you would like for them to contact you as well, right?
Yes, email is truly best. That way I can forward it on to my staff to schedule. Your consultation will be with me personally. My apologies if it takes a month or two to get a time on the calendar. They try to limit it to just 5 or 6 meetings a day. Uh, and so sometimes it takes a little bit. So we appreciate your being patient with us. Jamie Sturkey, who handles the scheduling, has a son, Brady, 18, with mitochondrial, who's tube fed and very involved with Special Olympics and so forth. And she is so passionate about the work that we do. And so know that she's a member of the club as well. But the consultations are with me, and don't think you have to drive to one of the offices. Zoom is just fine. We'll manage a way to get this done. It's the work that's so important in putting these tools to work for your loved one with special needs. So it gives all of us such joy. So I think same time next week, and it's going to be life care planning. And please invite a few others to join us. We'd love to see the group grow. And again, I'm so thankful to InSource for the great work that they do and helping make this series possible.
And Gordon, we've had it out on our Facebook page. We've had it in our newsletter. It's on our website. We've had everything actually the last couple months posted out there. But yeah, it's Gordon, not to belabor everything, but you and I both have our kids are older. Mine's 28, so you and I have been down this road for a long time, but it really, for those parents that are just starting out with just really the tip of the iceberg, maybe you're in a situation where you just received your diagnosis, or there's been a terrible accident or something. It's never too late to plan, because we always have to keep looking down that road, especially whenever we do know that we have our kids are just precious, and we have to make sure that we're taking care of them. But it doesn't matter what time of where you're at in the stream of life with them. So
Absolutely. Well, Jill, yeah, a real pleasure. A great week for everyone, and we'll see you next Monday.
Yep, we'll be here at 6:30 next Monday. Have a great week, everyone. Thanks, Gordon.